Greetings and salutations, it's Fiction Lover 987 here. Today we'll be making a galaxy-themed Dreamcatcher. This will be a tutorial that will cover the most basic stuff, but in more detail. For more of just a time-lapse video, check out the purple and beach-themed one. The materials you will need are metal ring, yarns of various colors and thicknesses, the more galaxy or space-like the better, thread, I'm using black, scissors, hot glue gun, feathers, I used black, red, blue, yellow, and green, assortment of beads. The sun bead, which is the one being pointed to, is made of clay. The one by itself is Saturn, which is a bead that I updated. I just braided 3 pieces of wire and formed it into a flat oval shape, and then hot glued the ends to the back of my Saturn bead. First step is to make the sun. I'm using that black butterfly bead you've seen in an earlier Dreamcatcher as a reference for how big I want it to be. Then I mixed a tiny amount of red, middle amount of orange, and a large amount of yellow and swirled it around. You can even dot on some black for a sunspot. Then roll it into a ball and flatten it. Use a toothpick or a needle tool to make a hole for your thread. Bake according to your package instructions. And there it is! Next, for wrapping the yarn, I'm using thick blue and black yarn, and then going over that with some galaxy yarn for some additional texture. Double knot your yarn, and you might want to glue it in place just to make sure it's more secure. I wrapped the extra yarn tightly over the hot glue. It's pretty simple, but make sure you keep the yarn tight around the ring and keep pulling it back with your hand that's holding the ring. You can see me doing that in real time, and now we're just gonna time lapse. Alright, so cut it and knot it like so. Next, I'm doing the galaxy yarn over that, but this is just an example. Again, knot and glue it in place. I wrapped it a little looser since this is a more decorative wrapping than the other one. Next part is the web. First, take a pencil, chopstick, or whatever you'd like and wrap a decent amount of thread around it. This will make it a ton easier to navigate through your web than having a huge spool. I actually ended up needing double of what you see here, so just try to make sure you have enough. Better to have too much than too little, since you can always use the extra on the bead and feather part later. If you do make the same mistake I did, just knot your end with your new end and secure in place with glue and a bead. Next, thread your tiny beads. I used 6 white beads and 6 yellow beads. You might need to use a needle to thread the beads more easily, like I did here. Now you're ready for the web part. So double knot and secure with glue and cut off the excess thread. We're doing this nice and slow at first. Sorry, it's a bit out of frame for now. It'll be fixed in a second. So pull your thread tight across the segment of the ring. Wrap the pencil around the ring and then pull through between the ring and your segmented thread. Make sure to keep it tight. If it's not tight, it'll mess up your weave later on. It's easy to fix but time consuming, so it's better to just keep it tight now. Just keep pulling across the segment and wrapping the ring and then pulling through. For this size of a ring, I usually do 8 or 9 segments. Slowing down here so you can see me tightening it again. And then ending the last segment just before where your first round started. Now we're ready to do the second round. So just drop your pencil in each loop, keeping it tight. For the third and higher rounds, make sure to poke your pencil through the segment with the straight line and not the corner. When you decide you want a bead, let one stay behind. for the center bead, I'm using the clay sun I made and also another bead. Just tie it off and cut off enough string for your bead to dangle. I liked mine better by tying it to the bottom of the center, but you can just let yours swing if you want to. I hot glued the beads in place so they'd be in the center. Alright, the weave is done. Next you do the hanging loop. Just cut off a piece of yarn that's double how high you want it to be. Then knot the ends together. Attach it to the top like shown by pulling the whole loop through the ring and pulling the unknotted half through the knotted half. So here's my bead order. The line of beads I'm pointing to frantically is the one with all of the planets. Because I didn't want the strand to be really long, I only put in the 8 planets and the moon. No Pluto. Sorry Pluto lovers. I'm doing 5 bead strands and 4 yarn strands in between. The bead part is pretty self-explanatory. Just tie 5 strands, keeping the length of the strands symmetrical and the space between the strands even. Here's a basic view of their rough lengths. Remember, knotting the beads in place will make your string shorter. You might want to cut your strings extra long to allow room for this. I glued the knots in place and then cut off the excess string. And then you just thread the beads and knot them. I used the white and yellow beads I used earlier in the weave to add more interest in between the planets. Try to have 1/2 to 1 whole inch at the ends to allow room for the feathers. The beads I used are metallic, shiny, or bright, trying to stick with the space theme. That's pretty much it for the bead part, just glue or knot the beads in place. Now the feathers. I wanted each of the 5 to have black. So I had the outer 2 have green and black, inner 2 have yellow and black, and the middle one have red, blue, and black. I just put a glob of glue on the feather stems and then wrap that extra inch or so of string around those stems to secure in place. The last step is to add the yarn that's in between each of the bead strands. I'm doing 4 for this example. I took 4 or 5 different types of strings and yarns, matching what I used in the weave and also the 2 yarns I wrapped the ring with. Then cut and tie it off with pretty much the exact same technique we did the hanging loop with. You do not need glue for this part. And there it is, all finished. Spreading. And here's the sun, and then the planet. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and the Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. This was my specific tutorial of a Dreamcatcher, but you can do pretty much whatever themes or styles or whatever details you want on your own Dreamcatcher. Here's just some examples. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!